Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Orient Live. The O's are back in action at Brisbane Road and it's league action once more. We've had a week of up and downs in the cup competitions, but hopefully we can keep that unbeaten run in the league going as we face our old friends. You might remember playing them back in 2006, just a few 15 years ago. It's Oxford who are the opposition today, and hopefully the O's can go better than their recent draws in the league and pick up all 3 points. And I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by journalist Brendan Pitcher and Orient legend Joe Widdowson. And it is always a big one, Leyton Orient versus Oxford. I think a lot of fans remember that day. I think a lot of Oxford fans remember that day. It's just an exciting fixture that's carried on for the last nearly 2 decades.
Yeah, I think as Orient fans, we don't have that many rivals, and I don't think Orient fans feel particularly strongly about Oxford. But I think just looking at social media, maybe Oxford fans feel a little bit differently because of the events that happened on that day in 2006. I think Jabbo likes to bring it up a lot, doesn't he? It's a shame he's not here today. But yeah, it was a great day for the club, and ultimately what happened. It was a shame that Oxford had to go the other way, and they still harbour a little bit of resentment for that.
Well, let's focus on the football today. And if we look back at the last couple of results, this was a win in the FA Cup, which was really good. Didn't progress in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, not the end of the world, but ultimately it's back to a good run that we've been having in the league and a good chance to kick on to stay in front of a sold-out crowd.
Yeah, really, really good fixture. I think this is probably one of like the top teams I think in the league. Oxford over the last few years they've been on the brink of getting to the Championship. So really strong, established League One team. Some very, very good individuals and just a really good game to look forward to. I think for Orient, obviously sold-out crowd today. And I think it would be a really good test and a good opportunity to see sort of where we're at. I think we've competed really well against some good League One teams so far at home. And just sure Richie's kind of message has been this week, let's get over Portsmouth in midweek and really kind of attack this fixture today.
Joe makes a good point there. We have played a lot of the high-flying teams here at home. Just from the top of my head, we have Portsmouth, Stevenage, Cambridge, Barnsley, all teams that I'd say more than half of our home games have been against really strong opposition, and we've had a couple of slip-ups, but on the whole, it's been impressive, and hopefully today will be the same. Yeah,
definitely. It's what you want to compete against. Like Joe says, Oxford are a very strong team. They're second for a reason, and I think from my point of view, I came away from that game against Barnsley being the most impressed I've been with this Orient side this season. We might not have got the win, but we competed against the top side in this division, and that shows what we're capable of and the levels we can reach. And if we can go one better and get the win today, that would be a real statement to the rest of this division that we're in a good run of form. We're not just a mid-table team there to make up the numbers, and we can push higher, and we're capable of taking on these top teams.
Well, 3 points would be fantastic, of course. And if you're an international fan, you can watch along with us here on Orient Live. And UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock. And you can pick up your passes by heading over to the website that is on screen now. Well, it is a big return to Football League football. So let's hear from the gaffer, Richie Wellens, as he gave us his thoughts ahead of this afternoon's fixture.
Gaffer, Oxford to come on Saturday. They've obviously lost their manager in the week. What can we expect from them?
We're not sure what to expect in terms of whether they play 3 at the back or they play 4 at the back on Tuesday under Shorty. So we're not sure. What we've done, we'll plan for both. So it makes it easier for us. The players are quite clear on how to play if we play against either system. In terms of the reaction from the players, usually when a manager leaves, the players are low on confidence, and a new manager comes in, everyone's got that new lease of life, and everyone starts from a clean slate. So they can become really tough games. The fact that they've been flying and a manager walks out, then it's a bit of you don't get many of them. So I think it will be a tough game because they're a good team, got good players, and they've got a lot of cohesion. When you watch them play, they're very open, expansive, loads of combinations, loads of movement and rotation. So a good team.
When a manager does go so close to us playing them, how much does that affect our own preparation for the game?
No, because we're prepared for several scenarios, so I don't think it's that much of a problem. The players will know that there's been a little bit of disruption, and there will be potentially the new manager, whoever he might be. There'll probably be there'll be a load of managers that want a job because it's an attractive job, but there'll be a lot of out of work managers watching the players, and the players will be thinking, who is the next manager? And I have to perform. So that can put added pressure when he was in quite a consistent moment. So we hope that's the case.
Top stuff there from Richie, and we're going to be taking a look at the fixture in a lot more depth very shortly. But first, we're absolutely delighted to be joined by a lifelong Orient supporter and new club sponsor. We should, hopefully, if he can hear us, we've got David Buckley on the line live now. David, thanks for joining us. Where are we hearing from you from?
Yeah, good morning, gents. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Yes, I'm joining you from Fort Collins, Colorado in the USA today.
Fantastic. And tell us what it's like being an Orient fan. Some people from the accent might not think that you're from the Eton area, but tell us what it's like, how you've been an Orient fan for your life.
Yeah, it's actually been a long time fan. My family's from Bethnal Green, immigrated to Canada in the late 50s, where I was brought up. But, my aunts and uncles would send me Orient gear and scarves and patches when I was a young kid in the 70s, growing up in Canada. So I'd always follow them from afar. In those days we couldn't really, we couldn't get anything live. So I checked the papers on Sunday morning to see what the results were like. And we've come a long way. So now I can see you lads, and I get to watch the games live.
And obviously you became a partner with the club in the summer. Can you tell us kind of a little bit about why you got involved in that and the story behind that?
Yeah, you bet. For me, good fortunes come, and the opportunity to do a bit of a heritage tour a couple of years ago and see my roots in East London, and I was able to connect and come to a game and enjoy the hospitality, and I was just very impressed with how professional the club was and just the friendliness of the community, and decided it would be an opportunity for me to give back to my heritage and help the community out a little bit. I didn't need to do it from a company perspective. I just wanted to do it in really celebration of my father, George William Buckley, and my mom, the Trineman family. Been longtime supporters, and I just thought it would be a great opportunity to celebrate my heritage and enjoy the footy a little bit.
And you do get a number of benefits, obviously, with your sponsorship package, but I think I'm right in saying that you donate a lot of that back to other Orient fans who maybe don't get those opportunities. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to be there for every game. I come over about 4 times a year. So I'll actually be there in about 2 weeks for a Derby game. But I just thought it'd be a waste if my hospitality tickets weren't put to use. And being a senior in my 60s, I thought it would be just a great gesture if I donated those to other senior ticket holders, maybe haven't had the opportunity to enjoy the hospitality. And so I've asked the club to donate those on a regular basis. They shouldn't be empty. Let's put them to use and let them enjoy the game.
That is a fantastic gesture, and hopefully you're going to enjoy today's game from afar as well. So the high-flying Oxford, they've got an interim manager. There's a bit of uncertainty in their camp. Are you confident in the O's to get all 3 points today?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think Richie's got the club playing well. I think we're showing some real resilience now that we didn't obviously have in the beginning of the season, especially for that home opener. But I'm pretty confident today. This is going to be an exciting match versus Oxford.
Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Colorado, and thank you, of course, for your sponsorship and your support and your donations to the club. It's been a pleasure, and enjoy the game, and come say hello on the Derby game. We can show you this beautiful studio of ours. And of course, thank you to David for joining us there. And before we go any further now, we're hurtling towards kickoff, so let's take a look and see how the O's are lining up for this afternoon's fixture. In goal for Leyton Orient, it's our number 1. It's Sol Bryn. We have the Welsh Wizard. It's number 2, Tom James. The other Welsh Wizard, number 4, Ed Turns. We have number 5, Dan Happy. Number 8, Jordan Brown. Number 9, Joe Piggott. 10, Ruel Satirio. Number 11, Theo Archibald. Number 12, Brandon Cooper, our 3rd Welshman. The captain, number 15, Idris El-Mazouni. And number 16, Aaron Drinan. And on the bench for the O's is Sam Howes, George Moncur, Shaq Ford, Darren Pratley, Ethan Galbraith, Max Sanders and Rob Hunt. So it's obviously been a lot of games since our last league fixture. Losing Jordan Graham was massive. Tuesday was an interesting game playing against Portsmouth. Obviously, Carlisle was a fantastic win. It must be weird now for Richie to come into this and try and pick his best 11 from what's been a bit of a week or two that's been a bit all over the place.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the team there, he's kind of shuffled the pack again a little bit. Dan Happy back in, Tom James back in, Joe Pigott back in. There's options there all over. I think, and the likes of Rob Hunt, who came in for a couple of games, did really well. He finds himself back out the team, but then Tom James steps in and he's been in good form this season as well. So I think, I like the fact that, to be honest, that Richie's rotating the team around. I think, we look settled and, like we found a shape that suits us, suits the personnel, when we found a good way of playing that's been effective. I guess selection decisions for Richie to make. But I think, by sort of changing the team around, you have players regularly involved that are ready to come in and do a job. So I think the team today looks strong.
And talking about that shape that we think we found, we have been playing well with that 3 or the 5 at the back, or whatever you want to call it, but maybe slightly tinkered with today. Do you expect, Brendan?
Yeah, I think it looks like a team set up to play on the counter-attack, which is it's interesting because a lot of the time last season, Richie was 4-2-3-1. We knew we were probably the best team in the league, and we go out and play our game, and it would be on the opposition to try and combat us. I think what we've seen this season is Richie adapting a bit more. We know we haven't got the biggest resources in the division, and we're going to have to come up with tactical plans to combat that. And Oxford play quite a high line. They play out from the back a lot. They're going to probably expect to control possession more so. So I think Richie tried to combat that today by getting a bit of pace in there, and Aaron Drynan, who we know if you give him space in behind, he can make those runs along with Ruel and cause problems on the counter-attack. So I think that's going to be the plan today.
And it's 3 strikers as well. You've mentioned Ruel and Aaron there, but you've got Joe Pigott as well, who scored on Tuesday night. 3 strikers, you'd probably say their natural position, all 3 of them would be a centre forward. So that's a big call for Richie. You expect it to maybe a couple of them to be playing off of each other or out wide. It's an interesting call from the gaffer.
Yeah, it is. Not too sure how it's going to look yet. We've seen some different variations of Ruel and Joe Pigott starting up front. No, I don't really think we've seen the 3 of them ever start in a game yet. But obviously, Aaron Drynan, he brings those legs and energy up top. Willing runner, he will stretch Oxford's backline and make runs in behind. And then, obviously Ruel's been in great form this season, and Joe Pigott has also started, scoring goals. Got a great goal against Portsmouth in the week. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Richie decides to set them up. And but I agree with Brendan. I think we will have to kind of suffer without the ball a little bit today and surrender possession. Oxford are a team really comfortable in possession, like to dominate the ball. So we will have to be good out of possession. And then when there is the opportunity to counter and break quick, I think we've got the sort of the players to do that.
And when you look at other areas of the pitch and you're looking for quality and you're looking for ability on the ball, you probably look at one man in particular, and Tom James. And we're going to see some of his recent performances here, because he's probably gone under the radar a little bit because he hasn't scored 40-yard screamers like he did last season. But he's still such a quality player in this league, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'd say, in the fact that obviously he hasn't scored some worldies like he did last season, but he's just been ultra consistent. And I was maybe a little bit worried whether he'd be able to make the step up to League One, because he's not the quickest or the most physical, and he would look like a technical standout player in League Two. But again, he's looking like a technical standout player even in the level above in League One. He gives us that kind of outlook. It's weird whether he's playing in the centre back in a back 3 or as the wing back where we expect him to play today. He plays like almost like a quarterback in terms of passing the ball from deep, getting the ball into the box, and then obviously his set pieces, which he seems to take on both feet this season, which is a remarkable skill. So he's got the long throw in his arsenal as well. He's just a great player to have around the squad. And when you're talking about kind of replacing Jordan Graham and that creativity that we've lost there, Tom James is going to be the one that can step up into that position where Graham's been playing and kind of take it on and create from there.
Well, you'd imagine that the Oxford scouting team would have been earning their money and would have highlighted him as an area. But when you're playing in those positions, maybe is it harder for a team to kind of stop the threat if you've got a right back or a right centre back that he's even been playing to, when he plays some of these passes that he's able to play? It must be hard for the team to kind of try and deal with that when he's so good.
Yeah, and I think, the thing about Tom is that because he doesn't rely on, physicality or pace, he's not the sort of fullback that is kind of, bombing on up and down. He's got that, because he's got such good ability, he can, serve and deliver balls from deeper areas, which, it is harder to stop because, naturally as a team, you're not really going to want to or think about sort of trying to press or engage a fullback when he's so deep in his own half. But we know about his ability, and I think he's got to get a lot of credit, because I think probably the one sort of question mark we had over him last season a couple of times watching was, sometimes he could be a little bit casual and a bit sloppy, and I think he seems to eradicate those moments out of his game this season, and I think he's improved a lot defensively. He's stepped up. He's shown that he can be really solid, and of course we know about his quality. Like he's got kind of match-winning ability, in terms of his delivery and what he can bring. He's very unique with his skill set, and I don't think there's another probably fullback or defensive player in the league with his quality on the ball.
He's an absolutely fantastic player, and today is the last chance in nearly a fortnight that you're going to have to watch Tom James in action, and even the O's in league action, as unfortunately next Saturday's fixture against Port Vale has been postponed due to international call-ups on Port Vale's side. So today is the last league game for a couple of weeks. So if you want to watch the O's this afternoon, you're watching them live on the YouTube, then head over to the Orient website to pick up your match streaming pass now, or UK fans, you can get an audio pass to listen on with Dave and Matt. But now let's take a look at how the visiting side lines up this afternoon, as we are just 15 minutes away from kick-off, and in goal for the U's we have number 1 James Beadle, number 3 Kieran Brown, the captain number 5 Elliot Moore, number 7 Stanley Mills, number 8 Cameron Brannigan, number 9 Mark Harris, 10 Billy Bowden, 15 Finn Stevens, number 18 Marcus McGuane, number 20 Ruben Rodriguez, and 22 Greg Lee. And on the bench for Oxford is Simon Eastwood, Jordan Thornley, Josh McEachran, Tyler Goodrum, Josh Murphy, Stephen Negru, and Gatlin O'Donker. So a team sitting second in the league at the moment. A little bit of uncertainty in the Oxford camp, though. They've just lost their manager to Bristol City in the Championship. The assistant manager has stepped up. So whilst a lot of Orient fans will probably look at it and go, oh, it's great they've lost their manager, you expect there'll still be a lot of consistency into the gameplay that has led them to be second in the table.
Yeah, it could be the perfect time to play them, in terms of the fact that obviously their manager's just left, who oversaw a really good period where they went away from a relegation battle at the end of last season, and now he's took them up to second in the league, and that's why he's got a championship job. But the facts is that obviously they played on Tuesday night against Chelsea under 21s and won very comfortably, and that was the same day that the manager left. So there's not been that much upheaval in terms of the fact that Craig Short, who was a first team coach there, is now taking them. So it's not someone from the outside. It's very continuous. I think the lineup hasn't changed a lot. I expect them to play the same kind of style. And if you're Craig Short, from his point of view, I'm sure he's got his eyes on maybe taking this job permanently. So he's going to be fired up and treating this as a really important game. So could go either way. Could be a nice time to play them. Could be a bad time to play them.
They've scored 28 goals in the league. They've conceded 14. So they've scored double the amount they've conceded, and there's a reason why they're second in the division. We were looking through the team sheet before we came on air, and you two were picking out, he's good. I think we got through the whole 11, and you'd both kind of said every player's good.
Yeah, they've got a squad full of quality. I think most of these guys have been playing League One, Level 1 above. So they got really good individuals, and I think where you can't underestimate the impact that the manager's had, because it's a similar team who was struggling last season and really kind of underperformed. So the manager departing could have an impact, but this is a team that's in form. They're confident, as Brendan said there. The first team coach has stepped up, so they have that continuity. They're a really good outfit, and I think the fact that the manager's left, I can't see having a massive impact. It's a team in form, confident. So I'm sure they'll be coming here looking to try and pick up 3 points.
You said the amount of goals they have scored. You got Billy Bowden and Greg Lee both on 5 goals apiece. There's not really one area where you go, you stop that, and you can stop them. It's going to be a really tough test for the O's defence. Yeah,
there's threats all over the pitch. Like we say, they play a certain way in terms of they're very committed to playing out from the back, keeping possession, being patient, but then they've got some electric wingers in players like Stan Mills, who's really good at getting to the byline, getting crosses in. I think the midfield battle is going to be massive today. I think in Cameron Brannigan and Marcus McGuane, they've probably got two of the best central midfielders in the division. It's a big task today because normally we've seen recently where Orient have played this formation, you normally have a Jordan Brown, Idris El Mazouni and an Ethan Galbraith or someone like a Max Sanders, but today you've only got really El Mazouni and Jordan Brown, so it's a big ask for them. But you know they've got the legs, you know they've got the capability to get up and down the pitch, and if I'm Richie Wellens, I'm saying look to El Mazouni and Jordan Brown, they've got the potential to be up there with the Cameron Brannigans and the Marcus McGuanes to be the best midfielders at this level. Today they should go out and prove that.
That's an interesting point there, because it's not very often in the modern game where you see just two. Probably, do you think they'll play as number 8s today? Often you've got a Holding, you've got 2 8s and 10. Or the way even we've seen it, there's always that 3 and rotating, but today it is them two doing that job on their own. There's a lot of wide players, which we expect similar from Oxford, but it is a big one for them too.
Yeah, I think they'll need support from one of the attacking players, whether it's Ruel dropping in as a number 10 and kind of doing the job maybe on whoever plays holding midfield for Oxford. I think they will need some support in there because you look at that Oxford central midfield area and it is really strong. The likes of Brannigan, McGuane, Ruben Rodriguez floating around as well, getting in dangerous pockets of space. So they will need support in there. But I think one thing about looking at the Orient midfield, Jordan Brown. And Idris, there is legs in there. There's legs, there's energy, there's tenacity. They will get around, and they've been in good form as well. I think Jordan Brown stepped into the team and looked really comfortable. He's improved game by game. His performances have been good, and then Idris has been super consistent. As we know, he's been outstanding this season. So it'll be a really, really interesting battle, I think, in there.
And we're talking about strikers potentially dropping deep to help out, and maybe he won't do defensive work. But Joe Pigott in recent weeks has. We were at the Carlisle game as fans for once, Brendan, and watching it, and him dropping deep and pinging balls about, he can drop into that midfield and do it quite well, almost like Harry Kane sometimes, the way he drops deep and spread forward back. Maybe not as well, but he can do that. That is a side he's got to his game. Yeah,
he's come into his own in recent weeks in terms of the fact where he's got that regular game time now under his belt after 2 years being a bit part player for Portsmouth and Ipswich, and he looks like a confident player again. He took his goal brilliantly on Tuesday night, and like you say, if you've got two runners in Aaron Drinan and Raul Satiru, then Joe Pigott would be the natural one to drop into that 10 and try and pick them out and try and play the passes from there, yeah.
And we're going to head over very shortly to the pitch. We'll see the flag currently being carried out through the tunnel. There's going to be the minute silence led by the 17th Battalion this afternoon. So in light of all of the pre-match rituals that we're going on, we're going to hand over now to Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Good afternoon and welcome to Brisbane Road. And of course, this is Remembrance Weekend and is a special place in the hearts of Leyton Orient supporters and of course the O's. And two enormous banners are now out on the pitch, one saying Somme 1916. We've got the presence of the Powers Battalion, and there is a hush around the stadium, and we're waiting for Steve Jenkins to come forward, and there will be this period of remembrance. And of course, although Leyton Orient have remembering those who lost their lives in the Great War, also we know that in more recent conflicts Orient supporters have been lost, and I know that this is a very poignant moment for them and their families. I was speaking to Steve Jenkins in Coronation Gardens for BBC Radio London earlier today, and Steve has done an astonishing job. It's his book, of course. They took the lead. He organises the visits to the Somme, and there is the Orient line that takes people around the history of the club by walking through Hackney, around Clapton, visiting the signs of the former clubs. And we're still waiting here, and I'm going to hand over now to Barry Galvin as the two teams come onto the pitch. There will be a period of silence before the start of the game, but rather than the usual two on a taxi, it's the bugles that greet the two sets of players onto the pitch. It's going to be emotional a few minutes, isn't it, Matt?
Something the O's have done incredibly well for a number of years now, and as you rightly say, Steve Jenkins and Peter Kitchen, two Orient stalwarts, and of course Kitch being a former player. It's wonderful to see, and I think there's no club bigger than the O's who respect and remember, of course, with the history, World War I, loss of Jonas, McFadden and Scott, and that's a wonderful banner as well, a new one this year that has been unveiled and taken out by the supporters. Clapton Orient, our heroes, is what it reads, and to the left, Clapton Orient, Somme 1916. Again, good to see the supporters engaged and involved as well, and it's a big afternoon.
It is. And there is, of course, going to be ceremonies tomorrow, including one in Coronation Gardens, where there is a memorial. But what about the team today? Because this is a difficult one in many ways for Richie Wellens to know what to expect from Oxford United after Liam Manning left. I think it's fair to say unexpectedly to Bristol City.
Yeah, I listened to Richie Wellens up here earlier, the interview he did with himself on BBC London, Parry to our right, and it was interesting that when that question was asked, he said, well, it's difficult because, of course, normally if you was a new manager coming in, it's because the side has been performing badly, but of course in Oxford that's not the case at all. So it does throw more questions into the mix as to what we would expect this afternoon, but it'll be a tough game, I'm sure, what will happen over the 90 minutes.
Craig Short is in charge. Had quite a short period in charge at Notts County, didn't he? So we have the players around the centre circle now, and there's that new banner that features Sergeant Richard McFadden, Private William Jonas and Private George Scott. Mark Devlin looking into the centre of the field now, and the players around the players' circle, and on the far side we have those of the Pals Battalion with their bugles, and the wreaths have been placed in the centre circle to a round of applause from both sets of supporters. It is another sellout here at Brisbane Road. I'm going to hand over to Barry Galvin.